Okay, I'm just going to pounce right on it and take a stab at it. Beth asks, why did God plan to send Jesus to die even before the foundation of heaven and earth? Yep, he did. He planned for him to die. And why did he do it? Was because of his love and his choice to allow the evil and the rebellion and the sin and the misery and the suffering and the earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes, all that. He allowed it all to happen. And we don't have all the answers to that, but he allowed it all to happen in order that he could forever reconcile us to himself. He knew that we were going to blow it. His foreknowledge of us blowing it caused him to have a foreknowledge of putting Jesus on the cross to take care of our rebellion and to forever put down its ugly head in his universe that belongs to him. And the way he did it is he himself takes the blame, even though it wasn't his fault. He didn't take the blame, but he acted like he was to blame. And he took it on himself to die in our place. He didn't have to. He could have just wiped us all out. But he wanted the free will, and he took that risk, even though he knew it was going to happen, of giving us free will. And he chose to take and obliterate the sin problem forever. I mean, forever. It says, wherein dwells righteousness, when he makes a new heaven and a new earth, 2 Peter chapter 3. And so that's why he did it. She's actually referring to the passage, Revelation chapter 13, verse 8. No, did I say 13? Yeah, 13, verse 8. Let me go to that. He's talking about the Lamb of God. And by the way, and it's definitely Jesus. The Lamb of God is mentioned in, throughout the Bible. Well, when John said it, John the Baptist says, behold, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. And he's pointing right at Jesus. That same John wrote this, where he says in Revelation 5:6, it says, and I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain. It's definitely talking about Jesus crucified. And in Revelation 13:8 is what she's referring to about this foundation of the world, if you didn't know this. It says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. He's talking about the beast here, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb. So I hope your name is written in the book of life, because otherwise that being slain, crucifixion of Jesus was in vain for you. Don't let his slain be in vain. Him being slain be in vain. He says, which are written in the book of life, not written in the book of life, of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Before he made the world, the foundation of the world, before he created everything, he already had him in mind. They both knew what the plan was, and they both devised it. And it was awesome. It's an incredibly brilliant plan that God himself took upon the nature of man in order to taste death. I'm quoting verses like Hebrews 2 and all that. And in order for him to take it. Now, it was already foreordained and planned and everything. Predetermined is what Acts 2 says this. Peter say, you crucified him. He's talking to the diaspora and the Jerusalem Jews there. I love this verse. If I can find it, it might take a minute. Oh, here it is. Verse 23, it says, him being delivered by the predeterminate counsel and foreknowledge of God. Ye have taken it by wicked hands have crucified and slain. But he said, you're doing it, but God already predetermined it. I love that word predetermined counsel and foreknowledge of God. And then, if you look at the life of Jesus and how they tried to, even the timing of it, they tried to kill him over and over. Like the first one, I think, was in Nazareth when he was, they were throwing him off that cliff, that 40-foot precipice. I hope I say that word right, where he was going to drop. He just walked through him. Wasn't time. Then they, after his two teachings on Sabbath in Matthew 12, after the second one, they started plotting his death. And what's interesting, they started plotting with the Herodians, which is the Herodians. They were the Pharisees working with the Herodians. They didn't like Herods. They didn't like them being over, but they had the same purpose. They started uniting in purpose. Both groups didn't like Jesus, so they started plotting, trying to figure out his death. And then they took up stones one time when he was talking about him being the Son of God, and on and on. They tried to kill him, and it wasn't time. And so it was all planned out. It didn't catch God by surprise. It wasn't like an event that they said, oh my goodness, we didn't realize this was going to happen. They knew it was going to happen to the detail. As a matter of fact, there's details in the Old Testament predicting what actually happened, like crucifixion. There wasn't a crucifixion in Psalm 22 time 1,000 years BC. So there's just too much prophecy, and that's showing that God knew what was going to happen. He planned it was going to happen. When the fullness of times, it says in Galatians 4, the Son of God came. The Son came. It was all perfect timing. In the peace of Rome, the Pax Romana is the peace of Rome, where they controlled everything. They built the roads for the gospel to be put out. It's all perfect timing. And so if he did that, he's also perfectly timed your life. And if you're born again, Beth is, and many others, maybe listening to this, then your life was planned out and foreordained before the foundation of the world. God knows everything. He lives in outside of eternity. I mean, no, he lives in eternity outside of time. Isaiah said he's a God he inhabits eternity. In Psalm 90, the only psalm that was recorded of Moses was Psalm 90, verse 2, from everlasting to everlasting, your God. In this book of Revelation I just read, beginning and the end, first and the last, Alpha and Omega, the Greek letters. I mean, it's just all planned. It's all perfect. Now, why did he do it? For you and me. And he also, let me slow down. For you and me, he really wanted reconciliation. He wanted to give you redemption. And this is the only way they could do it. There's no human being is able to take our sin. I mean, if it was just human, nobody can take a sin. And you can't kill God, so he had to become human so they could taste death, it says in Hebrews 2. And so, he was ordained to, God himself had to take the sin of the world upon himself. And he became that Lamb of God, not some human pet and lamb. And so that's one. And also, he wanted to forever put rebellion down so it would never raise its ugly head again. And rebellion is going to be gone forever, and that it's just going to be pure righteousness. No tempter, no sin, no temptation, nothing. Forever and ever and ever. I look forward to that day. Thanks for asking the question.